Welcome to Legal Basics. My name is Nick Ortel. I'm a business and tax attorney here at Foster, Swift, Collins & Smith. And today I'm going to give you a quick roadmap on surviving the sales and use tax audit process in the state of Michigan. Okay, so before I get started, let me just give a real brief overview of what the sales and use taxes are in the state of Michigan. And you probably know this, but just in case you don't, the sales and use taxes are basically a 6% tax on the sale, use, consumption, or storage of tangible personal property in the state of Michigan. Okay, so if you are a retailer and you're selling goods to customers, that generally, absent an exemption from tax, is going to be subject to the sales tax. So you would have to, as the seller, collect the tax and then remit it to the state of Michigan. So that's the sales tax. The use tax is basically a mirror image of the sales tax, and a situation that might trigger use tax would be, for example, if you get online and you purchase a book or anything else from an out-of-state seller. You go to checkout and then you get there and you say, great, they didn't charge me sales tax. Well, they didn't charge you sales tax because that's an out-of-state retailer, and they don't have nexus in the state of Michigan that would trigger the responsibility to collect and remit tax. But yeah, you as the person that's using that property in the state of Michigan would have a use tax payment obligation. So that would be the distinction between the sales and use tax. So that's in a nutshell what the two taxes are, and the state of Michigan's really ramped up its enforcement of these two taxes, and there's probably a handful of reasons for that. But in short, Michigan's getting less revenue from some of its traditional tax bases. For example, the Michigan business tax is no longer in existence, and our personal property tax is being phased out. So the state's really looking to enforce compliance with the sales and use tax more than they used to. So what that means for you is you might get audited. And if you do, here's a couple things that you'd want to keep in mind during that process. Number one, when the audit's complete, you're going to get something in the mail called a notice of preliminary audit determination. And that's going to say basically either A, we think there's a tax deficiency that's due, or B, we went through the audit and everything came back clear and there's no tax. Well, if there's no tax, you would check the box that says you agree with that determination and send it back to the Department of Treasury. If there is a tax deficiency alleged, this would be the point where you would want to get an attorney who's experienced in this sales and use tax environment involved if you haven't done so already. Okay, so that would be the first document that you would receive would be that notice of preliminary audit determination. So after that, you're going to receive a document called a bill for taxes or an intent to assess, and this is going to be basically the vehicle that triggers your appeal rights in the state of Michigan. So that bill for taxes or intent to assess is going to say that you owe the tax deficiency, and at that point you have a couple options. The first option is for 60 days. You can request an informal conference with the state of Michigan. Or if you don't want to take the informal conference approach, you can appeal immediately to the tax tribunal or the court of claims. Okay, so I typically recommend that my clients request an informal conference. Oftentimes it can be successful, and it gives you a chance to explain your case and your position to basically an informal referee before you get into the whole full-blown sales or use tax appeal process. So that would be an informal conference. Now if you go through an informal conference and you pitch your case to the neutral referee and they ultimately come back and say, we heard your arguments, but we still agree that there's tax due, it's not the end of the world. All is not lost. At that point, you can appeal to the Michigan Tax Tribunal for 35 days, or you can appeal directly to the Court of Claims for 60 days. So the long and short of it is that if you're involved in a Michigan sales or use tax appeal, it's important to be aware that your appeal rights are, limited for a certain period of time, and to get an attorney who's, experienced in these areas involved sooner rather than later, so you don't, so you don't forfeit any of your, your ability to appeal and fight if there is an incorrect tax efficiency. So I hope this was helpful. Should you have any questions, after viewing this video, my contact information is provided on the next screen. Thank you.